Welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast, your source for information on hunting, fishing, and all of your outdoor passions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. Mike Anderson here with my co-host, Ashley Sorensen. Ashley, how you doing on this fine day?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mike?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Recording this on Friday.
Yeah.
So
Fun shirt Friday.
You know, if you're watching this on YouTube, I've got a pretty outrageous shirt going on right now. It is Fun Shirt
It's
Friday.
fun.
Party
Is
Shirt
this like
Friday.
90s?
Yeah, it's definitely a
inspired?
90s vibe. Yep.
It's nice.
Yep.
I like it.
You know, it's my favorite genre of music.
Is
by
it really?
far. Absolutely. You know, stuff like Matchbox 20.
Oh,
if anybody knows Eve
yes.
6 out there, that's probably my favorite band. If you don't, look it up. Good stuff.
I like it.
Yeah, it's also a celebration of hunting season because for me, hunting season has started. It started last weekend for me. And
So I'm going to put you in the hot seat today.
you're going to put me in the hot seat today.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat.
Okay. Yeah.
So I want to talk about being hunting has started.
Mm-hmm.
Your first hunting trip of the season. How did that go? Where did you go?
Okay.
And let's talk about that. Talk about what kinds of hunting you're going to be doing, what's in your pack, all the good to know things as we enter the season.
Perfect. Yeah, my first hunt was therapeutic. I'm going to say that. So, and therapeutic means I didn't kill anything.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
Humbling, I'm sure.
Yeah, a little bit humbling. Conditions were a little bit difficult. So, I've got a wife and 2 kids, so I have to really plan things out. My wife loves the calendar. So, I started using the calendar a lot more. And about 2 months ago, I was like North Dakota archery opener. I just blocked those 4 days off, and you know that worked. So yeah, it was pretty great. I got the okay to go on this trip, and I talked to my normal hunting partner, my cousin Ryan, and he was like, okay, yeah, I think we're gonna go. All right, but then he got this big buck on camera. And I was like, I have a lot of projects to do, and I kind of want to focus my attention on this really good deer. So I'm going to pass. So that was like 2 weeks prior to season. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So then I threw out
And that was
some
your
more.
cousin or that was you?
That was my cousin.
Okay.
Yep. So then I threw out a little more feelers, and then I had one other person that was interested, but then that didn't work out either. So then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'll probably go solo.
Sure.
So I've done it before, not a big deal. North Dakota Badlands, so western North Dakota, kind of the edge of the North Dakota-Montana border-ish, I guess. So at this point, I had a few days to try and figure something out. I didn't know where I wanted to go exactly with the conditions, like it was going to be hot. I knew it was going to be hot.
That's right.
And
We had some like 90-degree days.
Yeah, exactly. So I was not knowing exactly where I was going to go, but I was, throwing out some feelers, seeing what was going on. Had a conversation with a buddy who knew another buddy that had a lot of deer. He worked in like oil fields and stuff, but I had never met him. So he's like, yeah, I'll see if he's interested, because apparently he was a big whitetail guy, and I wanted to go after mule deer. So he was like, oh yeah, he likes whitetail, doesn't care about the mule deer, so I'll try and connect you guys. So I'm driving west. I'm on my trip right now. I hadn't heard from him. And then I was like a quarter of the way there, I get this phone call. I was like, hey, yeah, you can come out. I've seen a decent amount of deer. And my wife and the kids are out for Labor Day weekend somewhere else, so you can crash in the downstairs. So like I had planned on just sleeping in my truck and roaming all over the place and not knowing where I'm going to go. But I was like, oh, so now I got a shower and a bed? I'm in. All right. New
You were
territory.
already in.
The guy, his job is to drive around and answer phone calls and make sure oil wells are working properly. So it's like he's got a lot of sea time. So yeah, he drives around. He's like, I've seen deer here. I've seen deer here. Like I'm on X marking pins. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. All right. And and I hunt a couple of days and, see a couple, but it was all like does and fawns, and it was the 2 days that I was there, it was 95 degrees and 97 degrees. So they didn't want to move.
No.
Did not at all. I saw one nice one in the morning, and he was coming off of this field and kind of going back to like going to bed for the day. And I thought he was going to bed on this big chunk of public when I first laid eyes on him. So I hauled to try and intercept him. And then I get to a spot where it's like, okay, I should get a visual on him now. And then I look down, and there's like 3 big wooded draws still on the private piece, and was like, oh, yeah, he's not going to keep going. He's going to stop there. And I can't touch him in that spot. So I had to bail on that one. And then I moved west after that, and I went to a new spot pretty close to the Montana border, and trekked back in there while it was still like 90-some degrees. You know, like I was going through draws really slow, had the wind in my favor, kind of thinking like, okay, there's probably one bedded there waiting to like move on to like a different area to feed. And I saw a lot of sign, so I felt really good about it. And then I got to a really nice glassing point and spent the last, few hours of daylight there, and saw a bunch of deer, and was headed back to my truck. And I got, maybe a third of the way there, and it was getting close to dark. And I see, all of a sudden I look up and I see 2 deer coming off of this field at a pretty good clip. And I get my binoculars up and I see 2 big racks. And I'm like, all right, game on. Here we go. I still got a little bit of daylight left. We make this happen. So I was in a spot that I was not ready to put a stock on for these deer. And they were at like about 125 yards or so. And, I feel really good out to like 75 with my setup. Like I can shoot farther if I have to, but like if they're inside of 75, I'm feeling pretty good.
You're good. Yeah.
Especially if it's not like windy, which it wasn't. And so I immediately like hit the deck. I'm flat on the ground because I have no cover around me and these deer are coming. But thankfully there's like this big tree that's all bushy and stuff, like that's basically in between us. So like I wait for them to get behind that. And then it's like, okay, now it's time. Now I got to cover some ground. I got to get from like 120 to like hopefully 75. So like I make a move. I get going. And it was where I was at. It was like basically a 2-track trail, so I could be super quiet doing this. So like I get up, I get to what I think is about like 75 or 80 from where they would be, and then I sit and I wait. So it's like, okay, where are they at? Where are they going to come out? And I waited and I waited, and then I got to the point where it's like, oh, I don't know if they're here or not. So then I kind of sneak around and do some looking, and they had vanished. So that was pretty humbling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you did see a couple cows? No.
I saw a lot of cows. Yes.
That was a good video you showed me.
Yeah. If anybody's hunted that sort of area where it's kind of open range and public stuff where the grazing is allowed, you do run into a lot of cows. So
you get excited.
I had finally gotten to my glassing point, and I'm all excited, like looking around, hear what's going on. And then I hear something right to the left of me. And then all of a sudden there's a big head coming up, like just like over this rise. And then all of a sudden it's a cow. So it's like, all right. So I took that opportunity to create a video like, oh, I'm looking, glassing all over this. And then all of a sudden, bam, big cow.
Yeah.
Not a cow elk, a cow.
Cow. Yeah.
Cow. Yep.
Beef cow.
But actually, to go back to after I saw those deer, that actually probably the most exciting part of my hunt happened right after that, which I was headed back to my truck, and then it had gotten dark at this point. And I was using Onyx to navigate and make sure I know where my truck is. And I'm walking, and I wasn't using a flashlight. I probably should have used a flashlight, but I wasn't. And all of a sudden, I hear something moving in front of me, and I look up, and there's this big blob, like no more than 2 steps away from me. And I back out and scream, like, "What are you?" That's just what popped into my head. Right. I didn't know what it was, so I just screamed asking what it was. And then I see it move a little bit, and then I shine a flashlight, and it was a giant porcupine. So I was about 2 steps away from getting smacked with some serious quill action. So that got the heart racing.
Right.
Like probably just as much as when I saw those big bucks, because you ever watch that old show Homeward Bound?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What is it? Chance, or I think the dog's
I don't remember the
Chance.
names,
I'm pretty sure it is. I could be wrong, but I think it is. Anyways, the flashbacks of that movie where he got smacked in the face by a porcupine and had all those quills was running through my head. Like, obviously he wouldn't have got me in the face, but my legs would have been in trouble.
Oh,
and he had no interest in moving either. He was like, dude, you're in my turf.
You kind of had a standoff.
Yeah, definitely had a standoff with a porcupine. So,
it was
thankfully,
somewhat eventful.
Yeah, somewhat eventful. And, I tried to locate those bucks in the morning and just was unsuccessful. So I had a shift in wind, so I had to like strategize a little bit differently, because it's like, okay, I suspect these deer to be bedding in these draws and coming out probably into the fields, or returning to bed or whatever. But if I do this big loop around, I can get the wind in my favor and get into a pretty decent vantage point and have a good idea of where these bucks are.
Sure.
And I did not find them.
So you've got the itch for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well, I scratched the itch a little bit.
Right.
I'd been waiting since like December when I shot my last deer late season.
Right.
But yeah, so it was great to get out. Great to get out. Like I said, it's therapeutic. I had 4 days where there wasn't any screaming kids, and I didn't particularly have to worry about work, so it was nice. It was that's one of the best parts about hunting, is you can just kind of
be one with nature.
Be one with nature. Yep, exactly.
So plans for the upcoming season? You said you have no hunts planned necessarily, but a lot of hunting planned, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm what you'd call a weekend warrior at this point. There was a good string of sickness and colds from the kids earlier this like past winter and early spring, which turned into like a massive depletion of my PTO, along with a couple of family trips. So yeah, when kids get sick, the hunt PTO gets changed to hanging out with sick kids.
Sure.
So you know what? It is what it is.
Right.
So I can't do any like distance ones, but I'll turn it into like some long weekend trips. I definitely plan on going out to the Badlands again.
Okay.
Because October out there is a pretty magical time. Okay. To be out there hunting.
And what are we hunting?
I'll be hunting mule deer again out there.
Okay.
I do a lot of whitetail stuff. Like I live in Fargo, North Dakota, so I have the ability to hunt both Minnesota and North Dakota. I usually hunt whitetails in Minnesota, and then I'll save my North Dakota tag for mule deer. I can hunt whitetail in North Dakota too, but I just got bit by this mule deer bug, and the whole spot and stock thing is just so much fun, So I like to do that. But going out there in like not early October, but like mid to later October is great, because people have heard of like the October lull for whitetail, where it's like they're not really into their pre-rut stuff really that hard, and just the hunting is, it can be great when the weather has like a cold front coming in and stuff, but like mule deer, they're up and active a little bit more then, and a lot of the foliage is kind of gone, so you can see them a little bit easier. So I just really enjoy getting out west that time.
So let's talk about what is in your pack for mule deer then. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a different shift between whitetail and mule deer.
And you're saying October?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
even like gear, however descriptive you want to get.
Sure. So you definitely have to be ready for about any condition out there. So layering's super important. It can be like 20 to 30 degrees at night, and then it can get up to like 75 during the day. So like that's a huge swing. So you need to pack
layer
for it. Layering is key for sure. So oftentimes I'll do a base layer, and then I really like to utilize vests, so you keep your core warm, and then you have your outer layers, and then I like to make sure to leave room in the pack for being able to put those layers in there. So oftentimes I'll be bundled up pretty good, because the morning you like to spend glassing out there on on kind of a hilltop or like the side of a hilltop, and then the wind's whipping right in your face because you want to keep the wind in your favor. So it'll get cold.
Right.
So you have to be ready for that, and then you have to be ready to shed everything. So
And carry it with
just
you.
like as the temperatures rise in the day, you remove a layer. So yeah, that's basically what it comes down to there. But then, you know, other gear, obviously you have your binoculars, spotting scope, range finder. I like to bring a jet boil with, especially if I know that I'm going to be a long ways away from the truck. Like sometimes I'll plan hunts and I won't pack nearly as much because I know I'm middle of the day, I'm going to go back and make lunch or something like that. But, and then definitely I always you have to be ready if you shoot something too. So like I'm always having game bags and, you know, like a knife and a bone saw in there.
Okay.
Plenty of water.
Yeah. And what will you make for food? Just curious, because I'm like, yeah, what if you're gone?
Huh.
So what do you boil on this thing here?
Yeah, I like to do the dehydrated meals,
Oh, yeah.
like all those. My favorite is chicken and dumplings. Yep, it's pretty delicious. I just got a new puppy, and I have to go out at noon and let him out. And I didn't really have much in the fridge, so I made one of those meals. I had a chicken and dumplings dehydrated meal the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Not for you, not for the puppy.
No, not for the puppy. He gets his
dog food,
his
puppy food.
chow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like those. You know, I'm good making sandwiches, Snicker bars. I like those kids' apple sauces.
Oh yeah,
like
Go-Go
in the little
Squeeze.
Yes,
Yeah.
Go-Go Squeeze.
Right.
Yep, those are good. I was kind of blessed this past trip because my wife went to Costco and got a whole bunch of like ribs that were pre-cooked.
Nice.
So I brought my little portable grill and I made ribs, and then I had packages of deer sausage. And
So are you one that, I know a lot of hunters like take everything out of the wrapper beforehand, so you aren't making all this noise, or is that not for mule deer?
that's a wonderful idea, but I haven't done that.
Okay.
I should do that.
It's like, so you aren't making all this noise, and now you have all this extra stuff.
It's not quite as important when you're doing your Western hunts because you
Okay.
can like walk a little ways to a spot where, you know, it's just like maybe you're on top of a glass point. You know, you aren't going to be within 100, 200 yards of your animal like when it shows up.
And now, are you concerned about like scent control?
You know, you always have to be concerned about scent, but you know, at the same time, like people
'Cause chicken
bait
and
for deer,
dumplings.
too. You know, I think
No.
chicken and dumplings is gonna smell a lot better than my human scent.
Sure.
So I'm not too concerned about the scent of food, to be
Okay.
honest with you. Like, you think about it sometimes. Maybe you bring an apple to the stand. Maybe that'll actually bring them in, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about that crumpling.
Toss your apple
wrappers or
core
nothing.
and yeah.
Yeah. Whitetail, different story.
Okay. Yeah.
though.
So whitetail? What's that look like then for your pack?
Yeah, my whitetail pack. So I like to film a lot of my hunts. So I still use the same pack I use for Western hunting. So a little bit bigger, fit a little bit more stuff. My favorite is a Mystery Ranch Pop-Up 28.
Okay.
So
Say we have some new ones too.
we do have new ones. We got a new Mystery Ranch treehouse that's really cool. That's the bee's knees for whitetail hunting. I might have to demo one of those from the store and try it out because
Yeah.
you can fit a lot of stuff in that. But yeah, in my pack, I got my camera gear. I got a tripod, not a tripod, but I've got a camera arm that attaches to the tree.
Nice.
And then I'll do my camera. I actually put my camera in a nice little fanny pack in the front.
Oh, yeah.
So I can actually be like ready to film right away when opportunity arises. And
Is that a
then
special kind of fanny pack at all?
It is any fanny pack you sell at SCHEELS.
Okay.
will do wonderful. I don't have a special fanny
Okay.
pack. My special fanny pack is the one that fits my camera really
Right.
well. You know, it's whatever works best for you. And yeah, then I'll just make sure to have snacks and water and my grunt tube and rattling antlers. And I am
Rattling antlers.
yes, rattling antlers.
Okay.
So
To call 'em in?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
During like the pre-rut and the rut for sure.
Okay.
Like early, it doesn't really make sense to use rattle, but later in the season, once you get into like mid or later October.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, they're not really establishing dominance.
Okay.
First part of the season, they can be like doing light sparring. So you can use rattles early, but you have to do it a little bit differently. So it's really about like communication of the deer and the type of time of the season.
Sure.
So early when they like first shed their velvet and they're hanging out like maybe still in bachelor groups and stuff, then you can like you basically like click them together lightly, like tickling them, people might call it. So it's just a little quiet thing.
Friendly.
Like, yeah, some just some friendly sparring. But then once you get more into like the rut and stuff, then the deer will fight each other to to be like, this is my gal, boy, you got to get out of here. This is my turf. So then you can get really aggressive.
More aggressive.
With the stuff.
Okay, interesting.
So, but I definitely like to have those in the pack just in case, because like maybe there's one that's like 200-300 yards away that is probably not going to come your direction, but you want to get them towards you. So that's a good way to do it, like the grunt call and the rattle and stuff. So I like to do that, and I'm a firm believer in ozonics. And because I've just had it work, probably.
Explain that to me. I don't.
Ozonics, that is an ozone generator. So if you think like the big machines that were in bowling alleys back in the day that would clear out like smoke or smell or stuff like that, or like I believe hotels use them too to clear out any smells. But basically what it is it generates ozone. And what ozone is it's a molecule that's heavier than air or your scent. So it's going to drop at a rate that's a little bit faster than what your scent molecules are. So you put this ozone generator above you, and then it creates basically like a blanket where it connects with your scent molecules, and it literally destroys them on a molecular
level.
Excuse me, I had something in my throat. Pause. Lost it.
No, that's tough on you.
Okay. Yeah, that's much better now.
Okay.
We're good. So yeah, basically it destroys it on a molecular level.
Wow.
So
and now is this like something that goes in, because you said it's above you, so it's in your pack, or like how is it attached to you?
Basically it's a little machine. It's I'd say the size of, it's probably maybe 5 inches by 4 inches by like 3 inches tall. So it's just like a little box.
Sure.
And then there's an attachment that you can put it onto a tree or a blind or whatever based on where you're going. And so I put that in the pack, and then I'll hang it above me.
Cool.
And then as long as the wind isn't whipping too bad, it destroys most of your odor. It works well in a tree, not insane. Where it really works is in like a hard-sided blind, like one of your redneck or your muddy style blinds. I actually basically change the way I hunt when I have the ability to do that sort of stuff. So good example of that is I used to be a whitetail guide out in North Dakota for a few years, and what I would do is like I had this 5-acre bean field secluded way back next to a couple of bedrooms, one on each side. And so deer would flow through that, and then they'd come out of this corner of the field, and then it was, like I said, it was a river bottom. So there was this big river that was on the northern side, and I'd park on the northern side, and I would go across the river, and I'd go up this little ridge and into this blind. And, I tried to figure out a bunch of ways to hunt this piece, and I failed a lot, and I got busted a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get smart with this. So I put this big tower blind on the corner of the field, and then I would crawl up this ridge, go right into the blind, and I would hunt it. I started hunting it like with the wind still blowing over the water, okay, they're never going to smell me because the wind's perfect. But the problem with that was the deer couldn't smell anything. So they didn't feel confident going out into the field because they didn't know what was there. So, and I saw this with my trail cameras too. Like I'd see like, okay, they're there one day, they're not there one day. And then I would like follow weather patterns and projected winds and match them up with camera dates. And then I'd notice that they would come out when the wind was blowing like where they were at, then they could smell like what was in the field. But if the wind was blowing over the river, they knew they couldn't smell anything out there. So there'd be a lot less deer coming. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to hunt it when the wind is blowing from the field to where they're bedding. But, you can't really do that normally.
Right.
But if you have a hard-sided blind and you put an ozonics in there and you run with one window open and you blow the ozonics out there, so all of your scent is contained in this blind and it blows out one single window, and you put the ozonics on the top and it destroys your odor
scent,
molecules, then you are literally scent invisible.
Wow.
So they feel comfortable going out into this field. And I'd run the ozonics, and I'd have these deer just pile into this secluded bean field, and I'd have 30 to 40 of them in bow range directly downwind of me, and they have no
idea
clue that I'm there. So I was like, after I saw that the first time, I was like, this is an absolute game changer.
Wow.
Yep, it was cool.
Because it's one of those things where it's like the science kind of goes above your head. Like, I don't know if I quite understand it. I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then, case in point, it actually works.
Yeah, it does work. So there's so many people that are like, I'll just
not a believer. Yeah.
I'll just roll in the mud and I'll take control. I'll take care of my clothes. It doesn't matter. My grandpa used to smoke a stogie and go out there, whatever. But no, it works.
It works.
It absolutely works.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think, I don't know. We covered a lot.
We did. We covered a decent amount.
Yeah.
I got to tell my ozonic story. I got to tell my early bow season story. But
therapeutic.
Hopefully I can make it out west one more time. I'll be doing some whitetail hunting. I don't have anything great on camera yet. I do have one buck that I have history with. I call him Righty. He's got a great right side and a funky left side. And I passed him at 2 steps last year. During rifle season. He was, he came out, he looked good. He was only a 3-year-old buck, though. I could tell he was 3. So I was like, I have shot enough mediocre 8-pointers that are 3 years old that I walk up to him and be like, man, I should have let him go another year. I let him go another year.
Okay.
Because I let him go opening night, and then I let him go the last day of the rifle season, too. So I knew he was going to make it. So I was like, well, I passed him the first day. I can't shoot him the last day.
Right.
Because he's going to make it.
It's going to make it.
And then the winter was horrible up there. So all of his nutrients went to his body instead of his rack. So he looks exactly the same as last year.
Bummer. Interesting how that happens.
Had me super bummed, but he's 4 now. So if I see him, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
He's on the hit list. So that one, got a few other ones, and then there's always surprises that show up during the rut.
Well, I think we'll have to do a check-in mid-season then.
There we go.
And see, maybe we can even, being we do this video also, we can maybe put up some of that video from your cams.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, if I can, we'll do that.
Okay.
I'll put a picture of Righty up there.
I'm like, I don't know how to do that, but
he's not the most impressive deer in the world, but it's one you have history with.
Right.
And that's sometimes even cooler too.
Yeah. I feel like that has more meaning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking hunting. So as you can probably tell, I usually don't stop. I got a million other things I could talk about.
But we'll do a check-in, and you'll talk again
another time.
Yeah. All right. Sounds great. Thanks,
All right.
Mike.
Thanks everybody for listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, make sure to follow us on our social channels: SCHEELS Outdoors, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Best of luck to everybody hunting out there, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. Stay tuned for future segments and visit our social media pages, SCHEELS Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates.